Good morning, this is Mark from Whittam URC. This is the next in our series of sermons on finding light in dark places. I know this isn't a normal service, there won't be hymns and things in this service. This is just the talk for the day, because most of you will have already watched the Nativity service and probably joined in some of the singing there. That service was streamed directly from the church today. Of course, you'll be able to catch it later on in the week on their website as well if you missed it then. However, those people who are doing the Bible studies on the Wednesday or whatever night you're doing them, this is for you. So I hope and pray that you find this challenging and encouraging. And so later on I should just start preaching, but now we have our Bible reading.
Today's reading is taken from the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verses 1 to 18. The Word became flesh. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it. There came a man who was sent from God. His name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning the light, so that through him all men might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to every man was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who received him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God, children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision, or of a husband's will, but born of God. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. John testifies concerning him. He cries out, saying, "This was he of whom I said, 'He who comes after me has surpassed me, because he was before me.'" From the fullness of his grace we have all received one blessing after another. For the law was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, but God, the one and only, who is at the Father's right hand, has made him known.
Today we're looking at finding light in the darkness of doubt, and immediately starting to think about doubt and starting to think this is going to be a bit of a miserable sermon, so I thought I'd dig up a couple of really good dad jokes for you on the subject. What do you call someone who loves Christmas but doubts the existence of God? It's an eggnog-stick. Sorry, that's terrible. Father, remember son, a smart person always has doubts about something. Only a total idiot is 100% sure of everything. Dad, are you sure? Absolutely. We all have doubts, all the time. Doubting is part of every part of our decision-making process. We doubt that we can achieve something significant. We doubt that someone can be relied upon. Doubt that we might have enough money to do what we need to next week. Perhaps we doubt that our health is going to remain stable. We doubt ourselves. We doubt others. We doubt God. And in this moment, in this time of virus and the lockdown, we have more time to think about these things, to meditate on them, to verbalise them to others. And the darkness of doubt can sometimes seem very black until the light of truth breaks in. A year ago, I discovered that my wife had incurable cancer, and I was trying to support her through this last month of her life. She rarely opened her eyes. I couldn't touch her because every time I touched her it hurt. She was sore all over her body. I couldn't really speak to her because she was asleep most of the time in bed. But while she was alive, I coped. But after her death, I collapsed. I even experienced some suicidal thoughts. In my addled brain, I convinced myself that I'd achieved everything I needed to in my life, and that I'd be better off being with her in heaven. I doubted that my life was worth living. I doubted that anything good could ever happen to me again. And in the depths of my brokenness, doubt can easily turn to depression and despondency. And these feelings are just so strong in us. Doubt can so undermine everything about us, who we are, what we do. It goads us to think the unthinkable at times. It can be so dark and so destructive. But equally, there are others who point to doubt being the source of great blessing. Amazing discoveries have been made after scientists began to doubt the existing wisdom. It started them on journeys of discovery that shed new light and new perspectives on their particular disciplines, leading to wonderful breakthroughs. We may not be scientists, but for you and me, doubt can be a really positive thing. Doubt prevents us from making mistakes. Around us there are always people willing to give us good advice, and it sounds good, sound advice at the time. They espouse one way of life or another. They try to sell us some new product that will enrich our lives. Perhaps they might encourage us into some kind of lifestyle choice. But doubt causes us to stop and think and weigh up their claims against what we know, against our experience, against our knowledge, against what we feel is right. Doubt means that we start using our brains as well as our hearts, and the light of truth results in us making good choices. Doubt can then be a curse but also a blessing. Look at Thomas in our reading today. He wasn't able to believe in Jesus Christ when the disciples had first met him. He'd been missing from that first meeting when Jesus first appeared to the other disciples. And when they told him that he'd been there, he'd appeared, he was there, he was alive again, Thomas simply couldn't believe. He said, unless I put my fingers in him, unless I touch him, unless I see him, I can't believe. He's known as Doubting Thomas. To him, his doubt could have been an utter disaster. He could have walked away from his faith, walked away from his friends. Fortunately for him, Jesus appeared to the disciples again, and this time he was there. And he challenged Thomas and says, "Okay, Thomas, put your fingers in my wounds. See that they're there." And he put his doubts to one side and believed. What a shame he couldn't have put his simple trust and faith in the Jesus who told him that he would be crucified and be raised again on the third day. Surely a man like Thomas, who had been around seeing Jesus perform amazing miracles, doing this wonderful teaching, telling amazing stories, a man full of love, full of compassion for everyone, surely he should have believed, but his doubt was too strong. Thomas gives me hope. So often I doubt. The lockdown has caused us to doubt so many things. At the beginning, we started to doubt that we would survive in any way after this virus hit. We doubted there'd be a vaccine. And even after we have now a vaccine, people are still doubting that it's going to work. So many people are doubting that they're going to have a job in 2021. Many are facing hardship. Amazing stuff that's going on in the world around us at the moment, terrible stuff. And of course, with the pressure of relationships and the forced isolation that we've been talking about in the last couple of weeks, it does sometimes feel like a very dark world. I wonder if this darkness is perhaps due to our doubt. It's because we've begun to doubt that we'll ever be the same again. We're beginning to lose our faith in society, in humanity's ability to survive and to solve the world's problems. We continue to see gloomy predictions about global warming and pollution. And within us, there is real fear, real doubt about the future, especially for our children and for our grandchildren. I think that's why so many are beginning to look elsewhere for their hope. Perhaps for the first time, we're realizing that without God, without this loving God, the world just doesn't seem to make sense. Sure, we have our doubts about God, things about him that we can't understand, things that we struggle to believe about him and the story of Jesus Christ. But somehow each of us are given just enough faith to take that next step into the unknown, to put our faith and trust for our lives in the loving God. Our problem today is the darkness and confusion of doubt obscure the reality that God is there for us, that he loves us. That's why Christmas is so special. In our reading, John explained how we have struggled to see God for who he is. So he sent his Son Jesus Christ into the world, that we might to know God through his Son Jesus. They are of the same character. The light shines in the darkness, John says, and the darkness cannot overcome it. Christmas is such a wonderful celebration because God so loved us and so wanted us to be in relationship with him, that he decided to send light into our darkness, into the darkness of our doubt. Rather than unseen, mysterious God, that people looked up there and thought he was this old man with a beard on his throne, meting out justice with his angry words when we go wrong. Rather than that, we see Jesus, a vulnerable baby who grew up into a wonderful man. Aged 30, he spent just 3 years travelling around, preaching, teaching, healing, giving hope to everybody he came across, bringing peace and joy. He was giving, he was kind, he was humble, gentle, patient, and compassionate. He said he was the way, the truth, and the life, and that through him we could find God. John 1:18 says, "No one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God, and is in closest relationship with the Father. He has made him known." Today, you and me, in the midst of this lockdown, we're going on our walks. We walk by the beautiful countryside or by the sea. We have some appreciation of the nature of God in creation. But it's only when we see Jesus that we can truly know God. Jesus, the light of the world, can penetrate even the darkness of our doubt. But, and there is a but, the light of God's presence surrounds us at all times, but the world pulls blinkers over our spiritual eyes. We don't see things clearly. And it does require us to take a step of faith, to take a step forward with the hope, with the knowledge, with the truth, with what we know of God, that the blinkers might come off and that we can see God for who he really is. Jesus, God incarnate, the light of the world, can light up your world this Christmas. Don't doubt, trust, have faith, and he will pull us through. In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.